All right. Okay, so tonight is Oral Zion Elul, so it's tonight the beginning of the 7th of Elul. We're already a whole week into Elul, which is kind of whoa. Rosh Hashanah is just a little over 3 weeks from now. So time for tshuva is really heavily upon us. Obviously, the year is Tafshin Pei Dalet, and we're heading rapidly into Tafshin Pei Hey. You should hopefully have your notes. If you don't have your notes from either the email or from the chat line, maybe Ari could just repost it just to be on the safe side in case anybody needs to. Or you can just sit and you can just listen and sort of go with it. Now, just to give a quick review, what have we been talking about the past couple of days? We've been talking about the famous teaching in Likutei Moharan, which is Reish Pei Bet 282. And it's a famous teaching. Everybody, quote, everybody, is aware of it. Anybody with any connection to Breslov, I would imagine, is aware of it. People that don't know too much about Breslov, because you don't know too much about it, I suppose. But sometimes you know something is so well known, quote unquote, well known, that it becomes not so well known because it becomes almost like a cliche. And so I thought a while back before we started the series that it really is kind of very important for us to actually be aware of it, not just go through it quickly, but to go through it slowly, carefully, and getting a little bit more in depth about it, speaking it out, helping us to apply it. When most people speak about it, they speak about, I think, kind of, this is meant to be negative, but when something becomes so well known, it has a danger of becoming like a cliche. So we started off and we started talking about how it's important to judge other people for merit, even people who you wouldn't normally think you should judge them for merit. And then from there, we went on and talked about how unity is created in Klal Yisrael. And we're not just talking, I hope we're not just talking about these things, but we're talking about them with the intent of trying to apply them in our lives. Especially now that Rosh Hashanah is up. It seems to me like it's a pretty good time to discuss it. One of the key ingredients to doing tshuva for Rosh Hashanah is being at peace, making peace with each other, right? Ben Adam Lachavero, and trying to fix as best as one can the tensions and the lack of shalom and this kind of thing that exists between people. And in particular, it's very difficult sometimes to continue to try to find the good in somebody who keeps irritating you all the time, or keeps insulting you all the time, or keeps doing things against your, let's say, against your honor all the time, or against your possessions, whatever the case may be. That, like that prayer is that we say, what is it? We say at night time. Right, the Shema al Hamita. When we say that Hashem would mochel, and we want to mochel everybody. It says shehiknis v'hiknitoti, like it irritated, annoyed me. Or shechata kenegdi, that sinned against me. Bain begufi, like against my body. Bain b'mamoni, against my money, my wealth. Bain bichvodi, against my honor. Bain b'chol sheli, against anything relating to me. Bain b'onis, where they did it like they were forced to do it. Kilu, they were, or maybe duress. Bain b'ratzon, where they did it willingly. Bain b'shogi, accidentally. Bain b'mezi, on purpose. Bain b'machshava, bain b'dibor, bain b'maseh, where they did it in thought or in speech or in action. Bain b'gilgul zeh, bain b'gilgul acher, whether in this gilgul or in another gilgul. Like, whoa. So, we're supposed to say that prayer every night before we go to bed. So it's a good thing to do. But obviously, that's what we covered in the past. And hopefully, we're working on that. So continuing on in that vein is today's topic, which is really applying the principle of judging others, but now judging yourself for merit. It's easy sometimes to think about how we have to judge each other for merit, because that's usually the way that the teaching is applied. But let's go back for the very top of our page of our notes. The very first reference is a review, but it is where we start from, because it's where Rabbi Nachman starts from in this Torah, and it's in Pirkei Avot chapter 1, and it's the sixth Mishnah there. And just to go to the very end of it, which is the second line, it's the last teaching of this triplet of teachings. It says, "Vevei dan et kol adam l'chavzechu." That's where we're starting from. That you have to learn to judge the whole person on the side of merit. And so normally when we think about this teaching, we think about, right, judging other people. That's what it says, kol adam. We don't normally think that we're included in the definition of kol adam. But Rabbi Nachman basically gives us this great chiddush, and he says, who excluded you from kol adam? Nobody did. You just assumed that when this teaching was brought forward, that it just meant other people. And usually that's how other people apply it. But no, and not just other people. That Rabbi Nachman teaches, now we're going to find out here in this teaching, which is the second part, which is Od Beit, which is your next section on the notes, but I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections in it. I just arbitrarily split up Od Beit into these 5 sections. So I thought kind of break it into sections so we can see the flow of what Rabbi Nachman is teaching. And he says, no, you're not excluded from Kol Adam. We have to learn to judge ourselves for merit. You might think, well, I think I'm pretty good. Why should I have to judge myself for merit? Well, I think this shows us the insight of Rabbi Nachman now, who basically was nifter almost 200 years ago, whatever the exact date was, I don't know offhand. And he looked down toward our generation and realized that our generation would be unique. And it is unique in many ways, some good, not so good. I think in a not so good way, we're probably the most depressed nation, or the most depressed generation that probably has ever lived. We seem to have so much stuff, so much in the aspect of materialism. None of us really live in absolute, well, maybe a few of us do, but very few of us today live in a condition of absolute squalor and complete destitution and horrible poverty. We have some. I mean, obviously, even in Bet Shemesh we have some. But generally speaking, the whole average, standard of living has gone up tremendously since it was 200 years ago. And so we have all the stuff available to us, so many luxuries, so much food, so much comfort, and yet, correspondingly, we have so little happiness. And so as we all, what are people doing? We're all chasing happiness elsewhere from where it ought to be found. It was only found in one place, because ultimately simcha, or happiness, it's a spiritual condition. It's a spiritual state of mind. And so it can't really be found in physical things. This is Adarab, just the opposite. If you're looking for it in physical things, it'll actually eat away at the very essence of simcha that could be within us. So this is what leads to depression. And that's a whole topic, but we're so depressed as a generation that many people will say, I don't have anything good in me to think about. I'm awful, terrible person, fall so far. And so Rabbi Nachman realizes sometime, and I think one of the attendees, I think it was Chava, said a couple of weeks ago that we started we're talking about judging others for merit. Maybe we should have started by talking about judging ourselves for merit, because perhaps that's where we need to start. I thought it was a good point, except that Rabbi Nachman didn't start there. He started with judging others. So it is going in the order of how the Torah unfolds in Reish Beit, but there's a valid argument to say that we probably need to start with evaluating ourselves for good, because many of us just really are so beat up that we don't really see oftentimes the good that's there. So we want to talk about this tonight. Hopefully I'll say a few things which are good that can help that can help us, that we can apply it in our lives. So let's go now to paragraph 1, which is the first section in here, Reish Beit, Ot Beit, in Likutei Moharan, subtitle, Finding the Good in Yourself. section 1. V'chein, sorry, we said v'chein because he's following on from section 1, which talked about finding another. So v'chein, and also likewise, tzarich ha'adam limso gam ba'atzmo. Also, a person has to find, not just look. We talked about this last time. Remember, he has to look and seek and find. He has to find that good in himself. Ki zeh yadua. This is known. What's known? He'll tell us what's known. Shetzarich adam lizaher ma'od. Person's got to be very careful, very, very on guard. Liot b'simcha tamid, to always be happy. Now we know the famous song. Everybody knows that's what became very famous. Teaching within Breslov that spread outside even of the Breslov circle. But everybody, you have to be always happy, right? Liot b'simcha tamid. Question is why? Everybody oftentimes sings the song, but do we really understand the reason why? Why do we have to be happy all the time? So we'll answer that in a little bit. There are actually many reasons why, but in this Torah, Reish Bebet, Rabbi Nachman focuses on one main reason. But I'd like to comment later, hopefully when we get to it, on other auxiliary reasons. If I don't mention it, maybe one of you can remind me. Let's go on. Ulharchik ha'atzvut ma'od ma'od. So somebody's got to be very happy all the time, and to distance oneself from sadness, ma'od ma'od. So again, it's an emphasis that it's not good enough just to distance yourself from sadness a little bit. It's important to distance yourself from sadness a lot. A lot. So why? I'll just tell you why. Besides what Rabbi Nachman is going to say here right now, the main reason is that when you're happy, you sin a whole lot less. That's the bottom. You want to know what? That's why people who are sad and depressed get caught up in doing averot, because the very source of averot is depression. The one thing that the Satan wants of us is for us to be depressed. He doesn't want us to be happy because he knows that by being happy, he's going to get defeated. He's not going to be power over us anymore. But he knows that if he can keep us depressed and sad and despairing, not disappearing, then, right? So this is, I lost the train of thought. Sorry, so I can't finish my sentence. I don't remember how exactly to start the sentence. All right, so that's teaching number 1. Teaching number 1 here says we have to learn to be happy and we have to distance ourselves from sadness. And somehow that's connected with finding the good. Okay, now, section number 2. Even when somebody begins to look, right, at himself, the ro'eh she'ein bo shum tov, and he says, I have no good in me. There's nothing good. Ro'eh she'ein bo, there's nothing in him, shum tov, no good whatsoever. That's the idea. Sometimes you're just feeling really, really bad. People beat you up. Now, they don't have to beat you up physically. They beat you up by mistreating you. They beat you. And as soon as you applied last week's lesson and the week before that's lesson, and you're trying to think of something good, and you spoke out something good about the person that just really irritated you again, and you, quote, succeeded in saying something good about them to Hashem, and he voted it, and then all of a sudden, boom, they come at it again. It's like, oh, I just did this. I thought, this happens. This happens. And so it happens over and over and over again with the other person. And so as a result of that person beating you up spiritually, right, psychologically beating you up over and over again, it's easy to start feeling this, I'm just no good. There's nothing good in me. And because you start, it's not logically true, but depression overrides logic. That's what the power of depression, that's why the Baal Devar, that's why the Samachman, that's why he loves depression so much, because it overrides your logic. It's an emotion that takes over. And then you're not thinking straight. And you quote, fall in, you don't walk down stairs to the left, you fall into depression. That's an important insight that even comes out in the language. So let's go back to this. So what do we? Even when you start to look and you start to examine yourself, and you say, there's nothing good here. Okay, what does it say? And you just fill with sin. That's what you think about yourself. I've got nothing good. And the more you look, the more sins you just see. So this is the danger of Hipodadu. The Hipodadu is a double-edged sword. We might have said this a little bit before, right? Because one of the things we're supposed to do in Hipodadu is dafka to focus on our averot. We're supposed to examine, we talked about this before, cheshbon and nefesh. We're supposed to think and speak out what I do wrong. Like, yesterday or today, whenever you do Hipodadu. And then you're supposed to ask for forgiveness. And as a result of doing that, since you judge yourself down here below, then the Shemaim, the courts up in Shemaim, they don't have to judge you. And so now you wiped out all kinds of gezerot that would come down normally. We talked about this, and therefore, as a result, you'll also diminish your fears. Because what do you fear? You fear these gezerot that are hidden inside all these different things on this planet. So when we learn to judge ourselves honestly about the things we did wrong, we actually eliminate our own fears. This is a good thing to do. And we help get rid of gezerot down here. But the danger of that is, if that's all we do, it can lead to depression. Because, I did this wrong, I did this wrong, I did this wrong, I did this wrong. Did I do anything right? And so you get especially if you're somebody like me, who's exceptionally neurotic. I one time did a test to find out what my personality. I'll tell you this a little bit, give you a little insight about my character, my personality anyway. I want to learn about myself, and so I find out that I'm at the 98th percentile in overall neuroticism. Yeah, 98. So what is neuroticism? It basically means that you draw your energy from negativity, which is like a terrible thing. Now, on the one hand, it's good, okay? Everything's got a good side. What's the good side? Well, you can easily focus on your own negative side. That's great. But the problem is you focus on other people's negative sides. That's not so great. And it's very difficult for a neurotic person to be happy. He's not naturally happy. And he has to work on it. So I think if we were to do it, this is my hypothesis, if we were to do a sampling of Breslov Hasidim, people involved like Breslov Hasidim, I wonder how many of them would be above the average in overall neurotic tendencies. And that's why they are attracted to Rabbi Nachman, because they know he's going to help me. Nobody else can help. Because he says, just be happy. Just be happy. Just be happy. I'm not happy. Would you ever just be happy? People say, that's like saying just fly. It's like, what? So Rabbi Nachman comes along and says, I'm going to teach you how to be. I'm going to show you the steps you need to do. And you can do these steps, even if you're neurotic. You can still do these things. And then in the end, you'll become happy. So, wow, this is great. And then slowly So all I'm trying to say here is that you have to be very careful about overemphasizing the negative. Yes, you have to do it. You have to look at yourself. You have to be honest with yourself, but you can't let it overwhelm you, because then it just becomes, what is it? A vicious cycle. Yeah. Okay. But that's where you start. You can start and say, there's nothing good in me. It's all kinds of sins, and there's no good. Now what happens? Next line. V'rotze habal davar lahapilo al yedei ba'atzvu umara shchora. The bal davar, I don't know exactly where this phrase came from. It's used throughout the early Hasidic Rebbes to refer to the Samach Mem, to the Satan. Why and where, I don't know, but it's almost exclusively a phrase used by the Hasidic Rebbes. So anyway, just so you know, the Baal Davar refers to Satan, if you haven't come across that before. What does he want to do? Yeah. What does the Baal Davar hope when you look at yourself and you don't see anything positive? He hopes that you're going to fall. And you're going to fall right down into what? Atzvut, the sadness, depression, and mara shchora. I love this phrase. I call it the black bitters. But it just means like deep depression. All right, that's what it is. Sadness and deep depression. And that's what he wants. Why does the Samech man want that for you? Because he knows once you're there and then you're not happy, you'll do all kinds of averot. So, Chas v'shalom, Rabbi Nachman writes, it's totally forbidden for you to fall down into depression from this. From what? From looking at yourself and initially not seeing anything good. You're not allowed. But I just did. So I need to get up. So we'll try to deal with this. This is what we're going to do. Chapes v'limtzo ba'atzmo ezem atov. You have to search and find, not just search. I spent 15 minutes. I didn't find anything. I'd say I'm putter now. No, it doesn't work that way. You have to search until you can find some little good. And we talked about this before. We talked about with respect to looking for good in the other person. You may have to go back to when you knew that person when he was 5 years old. I don't care what it's going to take, but you have to do that. And if in our own life it's going to take you to go all the way back to when you were 5, then do that. It doesn't matter. And just do it. And then do it again. And think of something that you did good when you were 6, before you fell into overall depression and sadness in life because of all the terrible things that happened to you. And it's true. A lot of terrible things. I'm not trying to whitewash that away. A lot of terrible things have happened to all of us. We were mistreated. We were abused in many different ways, psychologically, emotionally, sexually. All kinds of terrible things have happened to us. We were denied love. We were farmed out from our homes. A lot of things happened to a lot of people, and it's not to be ignored. But the point is that Rabbi Nachman knows this. He could see from one end of the world to the other end of the world. He could see in our time, and he knows exactly what's going to help. He's not trying to pretend that we don't feel that way about ourselves. We oftentimes do feel that way about ourselves. But he says you can still come up. You can still come up. You have to find this ma'atov. Let's go on. Ki in efshar shlo asa miyamav eza mitzvah o davar. It's impossible that you, in all of your days, you didn't find, it's not something good. Some mitzvah, some, I did Havdalah once. Yeah, whatever it is, I don't care. I gave tzedakah one time, 1 shekel to some guy. Now I'm being a bit silly. I know we've done a lot more than that. But the point is that sometimes when we allow ourselves to fall into depression and sadness, we don't think of all those things. We don't think about every Shabbos we kept that we didn't go out and start the car and go for a drive. We didn't think about all the times that we did this and all. We just think I'm terrible. I'm a complete waste product. Anyway, go on. V'af shekzematchil listakel b'oto hadavar hatov, and even when he begins to look at that good, I found the good. Hu ro'eh shehu gam kein malei pagaim vein bo matom. Even in that, he finds all kinds of wounds and bruises, and there's no soundness at all. It's never ending. Hainu sheroeh shegam hamitzvah b'davar shebekdusha shezachal aso. In other words, even the mitzvah or the holy thing that the person was zocha to doing, who gam came malay pniot, even that was filled with ulterior motives. You didn't have pure machshava, machshava zarot. So you have these other kind of thoughts going on. Paganim, harbi and all flaws. Even the good you find, you still can beat yourself up for and say, oh, that wasn't really good. And this is because so many people grew up in an environment where they were always told that they were no good. And everything they did was something critical about it. And it doesn't take long for that to set into a child. A child can be 1 year old or 2 years old, does something accidentally, breaks a glass, and the parents scream at him. Well, what for? You think he wanted to break the glass? How much grip does a 2-year-old child have? But it's our reaction that inculcates in our youth that everything that they do is wrong. And therefore, when they give them 5, it continues on, and they're 10, and they're 15. And now when they're 15, they leave the home. They have no relationship with their father anymore, their father or mother anymore, and everything is a disaster because all they got reiterated in their lives was they were no good. They could never do anything right. And so they become very, very morbidly depressed. And you know what? Well, you guys do know this. We've never had a generation where so many young people are so depressed. I mean, the old days, quote the old days, adults were depressed. They had to take they took their Valium and they take their this and their Prozacs, whatever they took. They were depressed because they had to go to work. They do all these kind of things they didn't like to do, and their lives are happy or not happy, and they were miserable, and whatever, spousal problems. But generally speaking, kids were kids. They went out and played, they had fun, they did sports, they did whatever they did, and they ran around, had a good time. Not so much today.
Okay, this generation.
What?
This generation of youth is the most medicated.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I'm just looking at some of the chat comments here. So we have created a massive problem for ourselves. We've done it to ourselves, and we've done it to others, and we've been victimized, it's true, but we don't play the victim card. There's a big difference between realizing that we may have been victimized and playing the victim card. You don't play the victim card. You learn to anti-appeal. You learn to be responsible. This is what happened to me. Hashem obviously knew what was going on. He allowed it all to happen. It's all part of my tikkun, so on and so on and so on. And you have to learn to face it and not, like I said, not play the victim card and blame other people. Let's go on. It's impossible. It is impossible, he says, that there's not some good in that mitzvah that you found that was so corrupted, right? And that thing you did in Kedusha that you thought it was so corrupted, maybe it is so corrupted. But Rebbe Nachman said, I don't care. It's 99.999% corrupted. That means it is 0.0001%, I say it right, good. And just keep going till you can isolate that one good and hold on to it. Blow off all the junk. Hey, it's good. And nothing left. I get rid of all the grunge, and it looks good. I turn around, that part looks good. How is it? There's got to be something good because you did it. So even in the worst thing, there's still something good. And there's a spark of Kedusha in all of it. It's the same reason that we talked about last time. We have to find the Nekuda Tova in the other person, because especially if he's a Jew, by definition, he has a spark inside of all that stuff you think is terrible on the outside, which is really just you seeing your own mirror. But let's say that it really is the other person. Inside all that is a spark of the infinite. A spark not just the infinite, but a spark of the infinite goodness. So if that's the case for the other person that you can't stand because they irritate you nonstop 24/7, then that means the same principle. In everything that we did that was a mitzvah or Devar Kedusha that we think is all corrupted and terrible and rotten, it's the same principle. Inside of that, all that klipa that's coating it, and all you're seeing is the klipas around it, keep peeling it, keep peeling it, keep peeling it away. Eventually, it's the same thing inside. There's an infinite goodness in everything that we did. That's a mitzvah or a good deed. Okay, so step 2 is, let's go back to step 1. Step 1 is you got to be happy. Great. Step 2 is, how do we get happy? You just tell us how. You get happy by looking at your good points. That's like, whoever would tell you that? Just be happy. What's the matter with you? Just be happy. Will you just be happy? How? Nobody ever told me that. So, you know. So you sit down, you can divide up your heat motor out in half. Doesn't matter. You can divide it in fours. I don't care what you do. Whatever. It's between you and Hashem. But half you evaluate yourself and you say, these things I did wrong yesterday and I want to do better at them and blah, 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 blah. And then half you think of all the good things. And even if I can't find anything, then you start applying this. No, I'm okay. Maybe yesterday I didn't do anything good. 2 days ago, did I do anything good 2 days ago? 3 days ago, 4 days ago, 5 days ago. No. 1 month. No. Last year, maybe. No, not really. I'm being a little bit facetious. But the point is you have to do it. There's no excuse. And that's how we become happy. Now, Rabbi Nachman in this paragraph 3 will tell you what the happiness leads to. Now, I already said to you before that happiness leads to you not sinning nearly as much. But let's look at another angle of it that Rabbi Nachman speaks out here. Ki tzarich ha'adam l'chapes u'levakesh limtzo ba'atzmo ezem ato. Sounds like he's repeating himself, but he actually added a bit here. He's reminding us that we have to search and seek and find. Now, I've often wondered why he says l'chapes and levakesh, search and seek. And it could be, I don't know this for sure, it could be that searching is what we do on our own, and seeking, because seeking also means asking and requesting. So it could mean that levakesh means seeking with Hashem's help, asking, seeking, asking help to find you, that good thing. It could be that when he says lechapesh, you're looking around, you're searching. But then while you're searching, you also seek, meaning you ask questions. You ask Hashem to help you to do that. And then you're able to find. So you can't just rely on yourself because you may not ever find anything. That's for sure. Huh? You can ask other people too. Possibly that's another thing. Could be. Ask somebody that likes you. Who would be inclined to say something good. All right. So, why? Now, Rabbi Nachman tells us why. Kedei lachayot eretzmo, to give you life, to give you vitality, to turn on your light. We're walking around, we're half dead. I'm not just saying this because you all can see it. If you have eyes, look in your communities. Walk up and down the streets. Guys, you have to be careful walking up and down the streets. But go in shul. You'll see the exact same thing. You'll see the same thing inside your shuls. Everybody davening what they're like zombies. It's pandemic. There's no life in people. Why is no life? Because they're not looking for the good. Why aren't they looking for the good? Because nobody told them to do it. And even if they did tell them to do it, they don't practice it. So we have to spread these. This is why Breslov needs to spread and spread and spread and spread. Because it'll give life to our communities. Okay, so that's step one. By looking for the good, it gives life. Vitality is probably a better way to translate the word, right? To infuse vitality into yourself. V'lavo lidei simcha. And that leads to simcha. So we got steps. Now I love steps because I used to be a scientist, so I like nice logical thinking. See? So we got find the good, look for the good, seek the good, brush off all the junk once you found the good. That leads to what? Vitality, and that leads to happiness. So why would you want to do that? He just gave me a nice good flow chart. Draw it out in a nice flow chart and stick it on your fridge. And look at it every day. Oh yeah, I gotta do this. So that's it. This is how you can learn to become happy. And now that you've gone and found and you've been able to bring out of yourself a little good. Like we said last time about the other person that you're judging for zechut, same thing. You're actually transferring yourself from being on the, like there's two pans, right, on the moznaim. So you transfer yourself from one to the other. One's called the pan of guilt and of chova, obligation, the debt, demerits. And one's called the pan of merit, of like good things. So you transfer yourself from one to the other. If you can do it to another person, you can do it to yourself. You do it to yourself, dafka, by just finding the good. It automatically does it. Because while you found the good, you actually have alleviated burdens from yourself. It's like you were weighted down. And then you say something good about yourself. And something else good. Yeah, good. And what did we learn about the other people when you judge them for merit and you transfer them from one pan to the other pan? What are they able to do? Easier. They're able to do tshuva. And the same thing here. So he says, v'yucha lashuv b'tshuva. And now, as a result of that, you're able to do tshuva. So people all the time trying to do tshuva on Rosh Hashanah. Right? Tshuva, tzedakah, and tshuva, and tzedakah, and tshuva, and tzedakah, and tefillah. All right? Tears up all the decrees. And everybody's trying to figure out how to do tshuva, banging your chest. So I'm sorry, that's not going to get you to tshuva. You can bang your chest all you want. It's nice, we're supposed to bang our chest because it does something in the upper worlds and it's all good stuff to do. But generally speaking, that's not going to get you to do tshuva. This will. And you won't end up with a sore chest after you're all done with it. You bruised chest. בבחינת ועוד מעט ואין רשע והית בוננתה al מקומו ואיננו. That's the passage we quoted before from Tehillim. And ועוד מעט, and just a little bit, ve'ein rasha. And we said that what was a little bit? The little bit was a little bit of good. That's what Rabbi Nachman said earlier. A little bit of good, and all of a sudden it's not a rasha. Who's the rasha? You. And now the fact that you found something good in yourself, you're not a rasha anymore. Vita bonanta, and you're gonna look, contemplate who yourself al makomo from your own position where you were holding. Veinenu, and you're not there anymore. Why? You thought you were over here on the wrong pail. Now you're on the right scale. I said pail, I meant scale. You were on the one side, and you transferred yourself. That's a tremendous power. What a power you have inside. Hashem gave you power inside you to literally transfer yourself from one pan to the other pan on the scales. Who can do such a thing? We can all do that. That's tremendous power. So we should not, we should not avail ourselves. We should avail ourselves of this and really literally do it. I don't want you to spend, 1 hour every week just talking. I want you all to do it. And if you're already doing it, shkoyach. But I want you to do more. And there's a reason, which we'll find out, paragraph 5, why we keep doing it more. But we need to keep doing it more. Don't just, I found one. You have to find 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, I should pause for a bit. Any questions or comments? There's something else here in the chat. Somebody said, turn to Rabbi Nachman and save a lot of money on a psychiatrist, especially if it gives one a sense of humor. Okay. We seek because Hashem knows where everything is. Oh, that's a very good point too, right? So we talked about searching and seeking. So Hashem knows where the good points are. So you bring in Hashem into the equation, and it'll help direct your thoughts to help you to find the good inside you. Okay, paragraph 4. There's no comments at this point. Okay. Hainu, that is to say, Kamo shetzrichim ladun, it's a bit of a review. Acherim l'chavzut, just like it is an obligation that you have to judge others for merit. Afilu et harashayim, even the wicked, which we found out they're not totally wicked because you found the good in them. Relim sobahem is in the you found in those people some good points. Well, the emet and therefore by finding the good in the other person, you were able to bring them out from one kaf to the other kaf in the aspect of like we said earlier, the pasuk we just quoted in Tehillim, chapter 37, Canal, like we saw above. Kamo Cain, just like that. Who Adam Atzmo, he has to do it himself. So we just kind of like tying it all up now a little bit. He has to judge himself on the side of merit. And he has to find within himself some good points still. Meaning, even when you down and you made your bed in Gehenna, and you decided to place your bed down in hell, Sheol, like David Melech says, where is it? Tehillim 137. Say that. Let me just say that. 140 something, 137. $139. Tehillim Kuf Lamed Tet. 139, and there's the last. It's like pasuk chet, which is 8. Im esak shemayim shamada. If I ascend up to heaven, you're there, or there you are. Va'atzia sheol hineka. And if I make my bed in the grave, not really the grave, it's Sheol, it's the lowest. I think Sheol might be the lowest level, one of the lowest levels in Gehenna. Hineka, you're there. Not just you got there after. We talked about this before. That Hashem, he got there before you got there. As you were jumping down there and followed all the way down there, you were smart. You went to the living closet first, got some sheets and a pillow, so you'd be comfortable down there while you're going to stay down in that lower depression for a long period of time. But even so, Hashem got there before you got there. But the point is there's still, even down there, when you're making your bed in Sheol, there's still some good points. You just have to find them. And you don't have to be smart to find them, but you just have to be honest. I always find that Deep Bodhidut works way better in the middle of the night than in the daytime. Because it's quiet, there's no distractions, you can think, and for some reason, your perception is much clearer. It's like the darker it is outside, the less light there is physically, the more light there is spiritually. So if you try this and it doesn't work, you can't find any good points. Maybe because you're trying to do it in the daytime. Do it at nighttime. Do it at 2 a.m. It's a good time to do it. Because why? Because you have to strengthen yourself. So you won't fall completely. But that's what the Baal Devar wants of you. He wants you to fall completely. I oftentimes hear people say things like, I need some chizuk. I mean, we even call these shiurim, we call them the chizuk workshops. It's not wrong to try to give people chizuk. But Rabbi Nachman says you have to give yourself chizuk. That's what he says. So we have to learn to mechazek ourselves. Okay, someone just said you can't hear. I don't know what happened there.
It came back. It's okay. It came back.
Okay. Okay. How long was it missing?
2 seconds, maybe 2 or 3
Okay,
seconds.
fine. Okay. So the point I was making is that we have to learn to mechazek ourselves and not just rely on the chizuk from others. The more that we're able to mechazek ourselves, the stronger we become. That's what he's saying. The stronger you become, and the less likely you'll fall. Because if you rely on somebody else to mechazek you, then you become a dependent. This is part of the problem why we're so depressed, because we're dependent on other people. So we need to become more independent, but in a sense, be dependent on Hashem, really what it comes down to. And I feel in my own personal life that it's much easier to mechazek myself in a period of time known as hitbodedut, when I'm just me and Hashem talking. You can mekashi yourself to tzaddikim, so there's maybe more than just you and Hashem. That's a good thing too, but it's another topic altogether. But the point is that when there's no other physical person around, then you can do a lot better at being mechazik yourself. There's something, so it seems to me that when there's somebody else around you and you're kind of semi-depressed, you'll feed, like somehow you allow that person to like suck you more energy out of you. But if you're by yourself, well, you can't have somebody else feel bad for you because you're twisted when you're depressed. So as a result, there's nobody around. So therefore, get yourself up. Okay, so he says, so you won't fall completely. Chas v'shalom. Right, adrabah. Give yourself some life. That's what he said before, right? You had to give yourself life. V'samachet nafsho, and make your soul happy. B'ma'at hatov shemotzi b'atzmo, and that little good that you found in yourself. Haynu ma shezachal asot miyamav ez mitzvah o ez devar tov. It's some mitzvah, some good thing you did somewhere in your life. And really, quite frankly, everybody, I don't think we're at that level. I mean, I don't know who I'm talking to all the time. I know some of you, I don't know everybody here on this. I think I do know most of, I think I know all you guys here today. But sometimes there are people, I don't know who everybody is. I don't know how depressed and what kind of state people are in. And sometimes you see somebody every day and you still don't know. They could be the most depressed people in the world, but they always put on a good face. I don't know. I don't know all of you intimately. So if I'm saying something to you that's like so pashut, great. But don't stop. Keep looking for more good points. There's a script. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Ari.
I'm sorry. That's one of the reasons why I think in today's society, people love social media, because it can create a false impression for other people. People see on Facebook this happy couple smiling and loving life, but deep down inside they could be the most troubled people in the world. So people like creating that facade, that false image to others.
And that's a good point. And then I would add to it that when other people see other people's great facade and they think it's real, and everybody's got this great facade, and they don't feel that way about themselves, it's going to amplify how terrible they feel about themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why actually social media is actually really a negative thing, because it has the opposite effect for many people than people think it does.
And all these likes and dislikes. You post something and you want people to all of a sudden put a little check mark or a little thumbs up or a little red star or something. And when somebody like leaves your group, oh no, why did they leave? So we're all vulnerable to this. It's just the way it is. Right. So there's also another side which I wanted to comment about, and that is there are some people who whitewash themselves all the time, and they just think they're just the greatest things in sliced bread, and they never look at anything negative about themselves. That's also equally wrong, but on the extreme side. Those people, they need to start looking at the truth about themselves. They're like blind to the truth. Remember we talked about last time that you can't have emunah without emes. You can't have emunah without truth. I also wrote about it in the last Shoemaker report. There's no such thing as emunah without truth. So if we in ourselves in our own lives always want to not look at the truth about ourselves, in other words, we never do cheshbon nefesh, or if we do, it's extraordinarily superficial, and all we ever see is all the great things that we think we are, that's not finding the good points. Because Rabbi Nachman says to find the good point is to go into that yuck and that muck and pull out the good point. It's to do birur, it's to pull it out. It's not to think everything is rosy. So there's a difference. So we have to be careful about that. All right. Point five is really gone.
Isn't that what you call narcissism?
I'm not an expert in narcissism, but I think it's obviously must be related to it. Yes, that one just thinks, well, you just love yourself, which we're supposed to do, because the mitzvah says "V'ahavta l'recha kamocha." So we're supposed to have love to ourselves. But narcissism is a completely unhealthy self-love, where I think it boils down to that everybody is wrong and I'm right about everything all the time, and you have no tolerance for anything else. But I have to read more about it to like speak it out well. But basically narcissistic personalities are very toxic to be around. And so are neurotic individuals like me. I mean, I'm much better than I used to be. I smile a lot and I try. Okay, point five. Well, you have to find more. No, I'm fine. So look, you have to look more. Limsov atzmo od is a devar tov. Don't just stop with the one and wave it like a flag and then good on putter now. I can go back to my depression and go back to my bed that I made in this show. Oh no, keep looking. Why? Vashigam oto hadavar tov hu gam ken me'orav b'sol et harbe. Even though the other good thing is also mixed up with a bunch of junk, garbage, and a lot of it, he says. That's where you got to find the good. It's not a rosy picture. Even from that, you got to pull it out. So if you're not pulling it out and extracting the good out of the psolet, then you're not really finding the good. You're just whitewashing yourself. It's like somebody gives you a bowl of wood chips for a Shabbos meal. It's a nice bowl of wood chips. But you know what? In the bowl of wood chips, there's 2 raisins. Maybe only 1 raisin. So there's got to be more. That's the point. You just keep on going. Somewhere in that bowl is a nice juicy raisin. But really, in reality, it's not a raisin. It's a diamond. It's really a diamond. Because it's a spark of the infinite oneness. That's what it really is. All right, so that's basically section 2 of this teaching in sort of race debate. I have a couple of pasukim I'd like to throw in at the end because I think they're like really useful to think of in this context. So what's the bottom line? Bottom line is the practical bottom line. When you look for and find the good points in yourself, and you keep doing it more and more and more and more, you transfer yourself to the side of merit, and you give yourself more life. Like you just feel more alive. You're not depressed. You can sing. You can dance. You can be happy. You can be happy with other people. And your tshuva is way easier to do. So if that's not a motivation, what is? And the more good points you find, the easier tshuva keeps becoming. Find 10 good points, 20 good points, 30 good points. And we talked last time, don't just think it, say it out loud. Not to be, you can say it in a whisper. Because whenever you say it, you create a malach. If it's true, honest goodness, then you create an actual angelic being that's connected to that good point. And that helps to clean the air and cancel out all the negative things that are going on. It's very powerful. Dibor is incredibly powerful. That's a separate point. We could talk about that another time. All right, so the more you, that's why he says in point 5, keep doing it. Keep doing it, because the more you do it, the easier and easier and easier and easier your tshuva becomes. All right, now let's look at this passage from Yeshayahu chapter 49, verse 3. Vayomer li, he said to me, Avdi ata Yisrael. Yisrael, you are my servants. What Hashem says. Asher b'cha et par. In you, I take pride. I boast. I'm proud of you, Hashem says to us. And the word pe'er is obviously related to tiferet. Same word. Tiferet is also the same thing. Pe'er is inside tiferet. And what is tiferet? It's like harmony, and it's beauty, and it's everything all together, and it's the right and left put together. It's the painting. It's the symphony. It's when everything comes together in the most amazing way. So this is what Hashem says. Hashem says to all Klal Yisrael, all of us as a Klal and as individuals, says, I look at you that way. I look at you as the most beautiful, most amazing person imaginable, as a nation, as an individuals. I just want you also to think about that. I want you also to see yourself that way. Shir Shirim, the first chapter, I wrote an article about this about a year or so ago. Shchor ani v'nava b'not Yerushalayim. I'm black but beautiful. That's how I translate it. Daughters of Yerushalayim. She's speaking to the daughters of Yerushalayim. Ke'ohale kedar kiriyot shlomo. The tents of Kedar were made from black hair from the goats, the black goat hair. But the Yeriot, the curtains of Shlomo, were the beautiful curtains that hung in the palace, which were made of beautiful colors, white and all these different colors. So he's saying the same thing. Like black, but also like beautiful. So what's the blackness? We talked about the blackness already. The blackness of all these avirot that we committed, all the depression that we allow ourselves to fall into. But even so, even though we feel sometimes that we're black, the real truth of the matter is we're nava. We're absolutely beautiful. Just like a diamond is coated in all this dirt and coal, like diamonds are found in coal. So you think, wow, that's all black and dusty and awful. But that's where the diamond is. This is what Rabbi Nachman was saying all along. Chazal say about this pasuk that Shchor ani, the black am I, referred to the about Israel doing the sin in the golden calf. But nava, but I'm like beautiful, is referring to the building of the Mishkan. I'm writing an article about this now. But the point is that what? It was only a few months between the golden calf and the Mishkan. It was all within the same year. It didn't take long. We went from the worst of the worst of the worst. Idolatry, Rashi says, also included sexual immorality and bloodshed, the three biggies. And from that, Shem says, I want to wipe you all out. Moshe says, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? It's the weirdest thing. Moshe says, what are you talking about, Hashem? How can you possibly want to wipe them out? Like Moshe, you lost your mind? How did Moshe save the people? I'll tell you right now. He saved the people by finding the good points. That's what he did. He did exactly what it says here, what Rabbi Nachman teaches here. He found the good points in every last Jew. So when he finds the good points, he says, oh, wow. Okay, I understand. Shchor ani b'nava. I went black, but also beautiful. So we have that same power, by the way. We have the same power in us that Moshe Rabbeinu had. We have the same power to find the good, not in others as well as in ourselves. And when we do that, we actually can turn the worst sins that we've committed into the merit of building the Mishkan, which today would correspond to the building of the Beit HaMikdash. Last one here is Tehillim, Nun Zion, which is 57, verse 9. And this kind of leads into the next topic, which is his next Torah. B'ezrat Hashem we'll do next week. Ora kavodi, ora hanevo b'chinor ha'ira shachar. Literally translates as, wake, oh awake, my honor, which is my soul. Wake up the nevo and the kinor, the two different times of harps that David HaMelech played. Ha'ira shachar, I will wake up the morning. What is he saying? He's saying that if we want to wake up our soul, which is sunk in depression and sadness, we want to waken it up, get it out of being and sleeping. Because people, again, people are depressed, never want to get out of bed. It's all related to the same idea. It says, wake up. How? Through nigun, through music. But it says, through the nevo and the kinor. If we were to accustom ourselves to listen to happy music, holy happy music, all day long, or parts of the day, we set aside a period of time where we actually listen to good, happy, holy songs, that also is conducive to finding the good points. And then what is it at the end? Ha'ira shachar. What is I will waken up the morning? That's the same inyan as we saw in the pasuk. Shchor ani, I'm black. Shachar is related to the word shchor, black. It also means morning. Black is morning is a transition period between when it was black and now it's bright. So this is the whole point. How do we go from blackness to brightness? Through finding every little good point. And Rabbi Nachman will say, as we continue this teaching for the next time, that every little point that we find is a note. Like another note that you put on the notation of music. And you keep finding these, because if you only find one good point, it's not much of a music. One note. That's very nice, but it's a beautiful note, but it's not much of a tune. But you keep finding more and more notes, you create a melody. That's what David is saying here. You need to get up to the point where all of a sudden you have a nevel and a kinor, they're playing music. The music comes from all the good points. That's how you wake your soul up. So B'ezrat Hashem will continue with that thought next time. There's a little comment there. Thank you. Okay, Chazak V'ametz. Okay, anybody want to throw in their 2 cents worth there at the end, or the couple shekels worth before we wrap up? Questions, comments? Feel free. Oh, I see Eliyahu. Good to see you, Eliyahu. Lou made it, eh? Yeah, buddy. Okay. Okay. So with that, then, have a good week, everybody. And if you need to reach out for whatever reason, feel free. Always available on WhatsApp. And if you ever want to talk, just let me know. Do my best to make myself available. Okay. Take care.